Hey guys, it's Kelsey. I'm back with another scrapbooking process video. This is Sarah Scrap's wonderful Pinterest pin, which I am using for Off the Board with Pineapple Papers. And this is also for Stamp With Me, so I will be sure to stamp on this layout. I loved Sarah's layout as soon as I saw her post it because it is just one of those layouts where you know you can use scraps on it. And since we're doing Baby Got Scraps all month long, I pulled out my wolf pack. I didn't think I was going to get another layout out of this paper pad. But I saw Sarah's layout and I was like, I think if I can get enough squares punched, I can do it. So I tried my very best. This is sped up a ton because a lot of this process video is super repetitive with just punching out and inking and organizing these squares. So I apologize if it's too fast, but that's all I'm doing. And then you can see I did not have enough paper in Wolfpack, so I had to turn to another 6x6 paper pad that's just a bunch of wood grains from My Mind's Eye. I tried to pick out a couple wood grains that went with the tones in Wolfpack to supplement the other squares that I needed. I think I needed 26 squares, and I punched them out. I just used my square punch for 1.5 inches. So that's all I'm doing. I'm inking everything in black. I have this 4x4 photo. Well, it was 4x6. I trimmed it down to 4x4, same as Sarah's layout, just so I could try and keep with the proportions that she had because I really liked what she did. I matted that in some white, and then I matted it on one of the wood grain papers from the My Mind's Eye paper pad. And now I'm just inking all of those little squares before I try and figure out how they're going to go down. So this is the bulk of this process, but it's a super easy layout to make after you get past having to punch all the squares out and everything, which is why I loved it so much, because if you're struggling with your scraps, this is a really good way to use a bunch of them. So that's all I'm doing. I thought I would use this gray cardstock as my background because it's Wolfpack, and I just think gray goes really well with it. This particular gray, though, was just kind of a tone that wasn't super complementary to the other colors in this collection. I don't know why. It just looked off to my eye having the gray. So I reached for white instead. I really liked how crisp Sarah's layout looked because she did hers on white as well. So I was trying to switch it up by using a color cardstock instead, but once I switched to the white, I was like, yeah, it looks so much better. The colors just look crisper because Wolfpack kind of already has muted tones anyways, so at least having it on white, they stood up a little more. So now I'm just trying to glue all of this down. I'm really trying to follow the same kind of spacing Sarah had, and I loved her layout because she incorporated stamping as well. So for the Stamp With Me portion, I'm going to make sure to use her as my inspiration for that as well. She is amazing at stamping. Whenever I need stamping inspiration, go to her because she is like the stamping queen. So yeah, I figured going to one of her layouts was my best chance to figure out what I was going to do for mine. So in her layout that you saw in the beginning, that empty square to the right of my photo, she had some stamping, and then she also incorporated some stamping on some other parts of the page as well. She also did this really cool torn detail on the left-hand side of her page, and I happen to have one single lonely branding strip left from my 12x12 Wolfpack collection. So I'm just tearing the slightest little smidgen from the edge of this white cardstock to try and get this branding strip glued to the edge just to add a little bit of interest over there. And I think it ends up looking super cool even though it's just a small little portion. And then I'm going around and inking this white cardstock with black as well, which looks super cool on the torn edge as well. So yeah, just trying to get it all glued down. I kind of wish these squares were more centered in the page than they are, but I wasn't paying attention to when I first started gluing them down, and by the time they were all glued down, I was like, yeah, I am not pulling all these up and sticking them down again, so I'm just going to try and navigate a way to make it look like that's how it was supposed to be by the end of this layout, and having this torn edge on the left side of the page helps with that already because that's where the largest gap in this cardstock is. So I'm just going to try and figure out the rest of it from here. But having this branding strip just taped to the edge kind of looked a little flimsy. So I'm just going to add another layer of paper to the back here just to make sure that those stay secure together. So that's all I'm doing now. And then I'll need to figure out some embellishment. I know I need to do some journaling. I know I need a title. I have some Wolfpack embellishment I'm hoping I can get used up because I really don't think there will be much Wolfpack to move forward after this month. So anything I can get used up on this one, I'm trying to. And it kind of writes the story for me here. The photo is of Marcus and a couple of his co-workers in a crawl space. So he works for EverDry Waterproofing, and sometimes he ends up having to go down into a crawl space. And they ended up taking this photo of them just hanging out down there. So I thought maybe using some of the sentiments that are already in Wolfpack. There's a lot of fearless and brave type sentiments. So I'm just going to roll with it. I'm going to find an excuse to use them on here. I have this fearless sticker. I created a little banner from a branding strip of this constellation paper from the collection for that to all sit on. So that's going to create a little interest over here on the right side where I know I'm going to do some stamping. I pulled out this diamond press stamp pad that had a couple stars. So I figured I would just stamp a couple stars over there too. That's definitely not all the stamping I'm going to do, but I thought it was a good start. And then I'm going to go through some other embellishment that I have. So that's kind of what's happening. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to say about these photos. I just know I needed to mention that this is Marcus at work, and this is a part of what he does, just so we can look back on it in the future if he's not doing this anymore and be like, oh, yep, you did that. I had some silver thickers in my stash that I knew I wanted to use because I think silver looks so good with the Wolfpack collection. I don't use silver all that often. I didn't have a ton of this alphabet sheet left, but I did realize I could spell out work and laughs. So I had an ampersand left over, so I just titled it Work and Laughs. I know it's not super original, but I got the title I wanted used up, and now I have that pop of silver that I wanted. And it spaces out pretty well in the opening I have here. I'm just putting my title right where Sarah had hers in her layout. I thought it looked really nice there. And then she kind of had some embellishment coming up from this title, so that's where I'm going to start working on my next embellishment cluster. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do, but I'm just going to throw out all of my embellishment that I have to work with from the Wolfpack collection and see what happens. A lot of this isn't embellishment from the collection. It's actually the packaging that kind of shows you what is in the ephemera. So I had already used the ephemera and decided to kind of get doubles out of the packaging by fussy cutting them and using that as well. One of the things actually was in the ephemera was this acetate bear that says be brave, and because I'm already using some of the bear pattern paper, I thought it would be nice to replicate that too. And I don't know what other time I'm going to be able to use this bear. And I'm already on white cardstock, so it's perfect. Sarah had a cool little label down there branching out from her embellishment, so I found a gray label and kind of wanted to roll with that. I like the fact that the bear is standing on something horizontal and not just floating as well. So that's where that's gonna go. And then I'm going through some other, this fussy cut squares here from some of the packaging. I thought it might be cool to layer up within some of these other squares just to give a little bit of interest, because a lot of these squares are plain because I had to just pull in a bunch of different wood grains. So this kind of makes it more interesting having some things in some of these squares. So I'm going to glue all of these down. These are from the rub-on packaging because they wanted to show you how you could layer different rub-ons over the different backgrounds. So I just used the ones that I thought were the most applicable and glued them down. And then I wanted to replicate some more stamp stars over by this bear as well, just so those stars were also balanced on the page. And then I realized that that's really wimpy stamping. That's not enough for me to call this a stamp with me layout. And then I realized the last time I really wanted to do some for real stamping, I pulled out my alphas. So I was like, you know what, let's do this again. But this time we're not just going to do a title with these stamped alphabets. We're going to do your whole journaling in them. So that's what I decided to do. I sped this up a lot too because it took forever doing one letter at a time, but I think it turned out so cool and I love it. I love it. I love how the stamped journaling came out. I need to use these alphabets more. I just have to. They are actually fun for me to use, even though they're kind of the most scariest stamping I could do in my opinion, because you have to stamp so many times to get this. So what it says is sometimes Marcus finds himself in gross, creepy crawl spaces, but at least he can have fun with coworkers at the same time. I thought that mentioned he's at work, mentions he's with coworkers, kind of explains where he is, but it also ties in this embellishment that says fearless and brave, just because he finds gross stuff down there sometimes, you guys. He runs into cobwebs and snake skins, and he's in a crawl space where there's only so much room to move. Not sure what else he's gonna find. So I think the fearless and the brave is well earned because I would not be doing that. But now that my journaling was down, there was still some awkward space around the page where just like things were not lined up and there's weird gaps. So I figured I would do some faux stitching with my Sharpie around the perimeter to kind of make that extra space make sense. And I really feel like that just helps tie everything together. Now it looks like everything is spaced out how I did it on purpose instead of me just misaligning everything from the start. But yeah, I think that really helped. And then I wanted one final touch because I realized I did not have any other silver and I wanted something to kind of balance my title. So I pulled in some of these kind of mirrored looking epoxy dots from the In Love Art Shop to pull some more silver around the page as my finishing touch. So here are the close-ups. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you check out everyone playing along with Stamp With Me. Make sure you check out everyone else playing along with Off the Board with Pineapple Papers to use some stamps and a Pinterest pin. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.